Hi guys, I'll be showing you my life as an Asian American growing up among two different lifestyles and my journey for self-acceptance. So I'm just going to start off with my mom, and she was born in Canton, China, and down south of China is my dad, who was born in some village in Cambodia. They both came to the city of Philly, and my mom came with her family because their father gained citizenship, and my dad and his family were refugees of the Indochina War. Of course, they fell in love at a young age, and my mom's parents weren't too happy about her being in a relationship at such a young age. They yelled at her, and she'd yell back, and they'd argue a lot in Chinese. And my mom was a goody two-shoes student who would get straight A's and want to be a doctor when she grew up, while my dad was a typical bad boy, you could say. Long story short, I was born on November 1st and not on Halloween because my mom deliberately held me in because she didn't want me to be a devil baby. Then a few years later, my parents split up, leaving me all alone with my grandma. Sadly, I had to leave Philly to the cold state of Massachusetts. There, I went to church for the first time, and I felt weird that my grandma and all these Cambodians kept throwing Christianity at me, but I really didn't care since I was young. I would pretend to pray with adults because you can't not pretend to pray. And my grandma and I lived by the beach, and we would pick up soda cans and beer bottles from the trash to sell for 5 cents each at the recycling place to make extra money. I had to wear long sleeves even when it was hot because she said I'd get dark and Asians really valued whiteness. I was a very obedient child to my grandparents. There's something about them, maybe because they were old and caring, but it made me naturally want to respect them. As for school, I got made fun of a lot because I was Asian, and I was the only Asian in my class up until college. I will always remember on the school ride bus home, a boy asked me why my eyes slanted, and I honestly didn't know what to say back. It really hurt me inside, and I cried on the way home. It really surprised me when I went with my grandpa to the Buddhist temple because I thought we were Christian, but it turns out he wasn't Christian and my grandma was. I told my friends that I was Christian though, just so I could fit in. I felt weird being different. My grandpa would wake up at 5 a.m. to go work in the factory and came home at 5 p.m. I felt bad that my grandparents worked hard to take care of the family. I barely received toys or watched TV, so I would just write my ABCs or multiplication tables. I'd also hear stories from my grandparents at how the Cambodian kids in Philly were bad and always got into trouble and into gang violence. They wanted me to have a better life. Well, 4 years later, my mom decided to come back for me and I had to leave the small town of Massachusetts. My mom was a pharmacist and we didn't have to worry about money. I was amazed to see how nice the suburbs were also. But in reality, I felt like I was stuck inside the nice house because my mom didn't let me do anything besides school and it didn't help that I was a girl. I thought of her as a devil for a while because she made me babysit her kids all the time, and I thought she was just using me as a free babysitter. Besides hearing Chinese all the time, we'd also have Chinese food like fish, meats, and rice, plus a whole pantry of American food, which I wasn't used to seeing at all. Anyways, living with my mom, I wanted to run away and get out, and there were times when I rebelled and snuck out of the house. I joined my high school's tennis team as a way to be more social, but I told my mom it would look good for college, so she was okay with it. I started to realize that my mom and her side of the family value materialism and wealth and status. I see my cousins with TVs, nice cars, and computers, and they always brag about their grades. And on my dad's side of the family, I see my cousins who are just doing drugs without cars and just trying to get by without going to college. My life experiences with my Cambodian, Chinese, and American values made me really lost and depressed. I didn't know who I was. I was proud to call myself Cambodian, but I wasn't proud to call myself Chinese because of the way my mother was overprotective of me. College decision day came around and I was accepted to my first choice school, but I had to turn it down because my mom thought it was a party school. So here I am at UMBC, but it's actually the only decision that I'm glad my mom made. I was happy to see so much diversity at UMBC, and there were so many Asian Americans, which I was glad to see. I see people from different backgrounds and cultures, and it really made me confident to be proud of being an Asian American. Also a big heartbreaker for my mom, but not me, I met my boyfriend in the city, and he's a software developer who's Latin American, which is the opposite of what my mom wants me to marry, a Chinese doctor. My junior year, I enrolled in Asian American Studies. I didn't expect myself to enjoy it as much as I did. It has been by far my favorite course that I've taken at UMBC because I got to read about the experiences of other Asian Americans who I can relate to, and I learned a lot about Asian American identity. And that sums up my video. I'm still learning and I'm hopeful at what the future holds for me. I've even started to join cultural clubs on campus such as HLSU and VSA because cultural awareness is something that I enjoy being a part of.
It does, however, affect me in my daily life because I do have friends that say, "Oh, you're Asian, so you should be good at math or you should be good at science. Like, we should be going to you for these things." And it's not necessarily so. You have other friends and from different cultures who are just as good, if not better, and exceeding in those fields.
Definitely more with pressure because I know a lot of Asians are good at math, but for me personally, I'm not that good at math. But I am more towards like a business person, more of like the logic type, not really calculating money and all that.
It's a different culture, it's a different lifestyle, and it can be hard to understand. For Filipinos, there's a lot of pride and sometimes a lot of humility, which is not as well understood in Western culture. But the Filipinos come from a place of very tight family bonds, very prideful families who try to stay humble, which is a little bit different than what we normally see. So I think understanding where that difference comes from and trying to relate to that, or just getting a basis and trying to work with someone who is from Southeast Asia.
You know, we're out there, we're trying to do our own thing, we're trying to figure out what we want to do. So, I mean, we're Asians, but we still do, you know, we're not just math and science, we also do like English. You know, I know one of my friends is an English major and he's trying to become like a high school teacher, so it's definitely, he's not all about math.